If there's one pattern that has become increasingly clear over the course of this conflict, it's this. When a weak point is identified, it rarely stays untouched for long. Instead, it becomes the focus of repeated engagements, carefully planned, steadily executed, until its usefulness begins to fade. Right now, that pattern is unfolding once again along the Black Sea, and at the center of it all lies Novorossiysk. Not long ago, this key port was already dealing with the aftermath of a major strike. Now it finds itself thrust back into the spotlight. Flashes in the night sky, secondary explosions echoing across the harbor, and thick smoke rising where critical infrastructure once stood. Among the most significant developments, a Russian frigate, heavily relied upon in recent operations, has sustained serious damage following a coordinated drone strike. Let's begin there. On April 6th, Ukraine's unmanned systems forces revealed details of a new operation targeting assets in and around Novorossiysk. The focus, once again, was the Black Sea Fleet, an entity that had already repositioned to this port after earlier setbacks elsewhere. This time, one of the fleet's most important vessels, the Admiral Makarov, was caught in the engagement. Initial reports highlighted a coordinated effort involving multiple units, including unmanned aerial systems working in tandem with intelligence support. As the drones approached their target, defensive systems on board the frigate activated, interceptors launched, countermeasures deployed, but the outcome suggests those defenses were unable to fully neutralize the incoming threat. Moments later, impacts were recorded. Footage released afterward paints a tense picture. The ship attempting to respond, air defense systems firing into the night, while incoming drones maintain their course. Then, contact, a flash, followed by visible structural damage. The significance of this vessel cannot be overstated. The Admiral Makarov is part of a limited class of frigates capable of deploying Kaliber cruise missiles, long-range systems that have played a role in multiple strike operations throughout the conflict. With the ability to reach targets at considerable distances, these missiles have extended the operational reach of naval forces far beyond the coastline. Disrupting that capability changes the equation. While assessments are still ongoing, the scale of the damage suggests the ship may no longer be able to operate in its previous role, at least not in the near term. If confirmed, this would represent a notable reduction in available launch platforms within the Black Sea. But this moment didn't emerge in isolation. To understand its impact, you have to step back to the early days of the conflict, when the Black Sea Fleet was expected to play a dominant role. With limited naval resistance anticipated, control of maritime routes seemed achievable. Supply lines, export channels, strategic positioning all appeared within reach. Yet, over time, that expectation began to shift. Instead of traditional naval engagements, a different approach emerged. One built around precision, mobility, and adaptability. Unmanned systems, in particular, began to redefine what was possible. Airborne drones, sea-based platforms, and hybrid tactics introduced a level of unpredictability that proved difficult to counter. Gradually, the balance changed. Vessels repositioned, operations adjusted, and ports like Novorossiysk, once considered safer alternatives, began to face increasing pressure. The strike on the Admiral Makarov is part of that broader pattern, but it wasn't the only development. In the same sequence of operations, another target came into focus. An offshore oil platform known as Sivash. At first glance, it might seem like an industrial asset, but recent developments suggest it had taken on an additional role, functioning as a node within a wider air defense network. Radar systems, surveillance equipment, elements that extended coverage across portions of the Black Sea. That made it a strategic objective. Video evidence indicates multiple drone engagements against the platform, some approaching from the air, others possibly launched from sea-based systems operating nearby. These layered approaches hint at evolving tactics where different unmanned platforms work together, extending reach and flexibility. The impacts were precise, repeated, focused on key components. With those systems disrupted, gaps may begin to appear in the defensive network, gaps that could influence future operations in the region. And then there's the port itself. Beyond military targets, Novorossiysk also serves as a major hub for oil exports. Facilities like the Sheshkary's terminal play a significant role in processing and loading crude oil for transport. During this latest wave of activity, that infrastructure was also affected. Reports to multiple strikes targeting key sections of the terminal, piers, pipeline nodes, loading systems. The result, large-scale fires visible from considerable distances and a temporary halt in operations. The broader implications are difficult to ignore. Energy exports are a critical component of economic stability, and disruptions, especially repeated ones, can create ripple effects that extend far beyond a single location. When terminals pause operations, shipments are delayed. When delays accumulate, pressure builds. And this is not the first time such facilities have been targeted. Over recent weeks, similar engagements have been recorded in both the Black Sea and Baltic regions. Ports like Primorsk and Ust-Luga have also experienced disruptions, contributing to a pattern that appears increasingly deliberate. Taken together, these developments point to a wider strategy, one that combines military and economic considerations, targeting both immediate capabilities and longer-term sustainability. Back in Novorossiysk, the situation continues to evolve. A damaged frigate, a disrupted defense node, a major export terminal temporarily offline. Each element on its own is significant. Combined, they form a picture of a region under sustained pressure, where engagements are no longer isolated events, but part of a continuous cycle. And as the smoke clears, one question lingers. What comes next? Because if recent patterns hold true, this may not be the end of the story, but simply the next chapter. And that's where we'll leave it for now. If you want to stay ahead of these developments, follow the shifts as they happen and understand what they could mean moving forward. Make sure you're subscribed. The next update might arrive sooner than expected, and you won't want to miss it.